we always hold everyone else to this high standard, and that's where we can judge them. But we don't really judge ourselves very much because we know the backstory or the story we're really telling ourselves. Right?
This episode's really philosophical in a way.
It is.
Welcome to the Overlap Podcast, big business tactics for small business success. Dive into the intersections of work, fitness, family, faith, and leadership. We believe growth in one area fuels growth in all. Here's your hosts, Sid Sexton and Keith Glines.
That's why we're committed to taking the lessons we've learned from business, breaking them down into simple, actionable insights, and empowering small business leaders to not just survive, but thrive.
I need some surviving and thriving.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You getting worn down a little?
I'm a little worn down, leading into the summer.
Yeah.
You know? However, it's a good day.
Okay.
It's been a great week.
The heat taking its toll?
The heat taking its toll.
Oh my God.
I drive a Jeep with the windows down.
Yeah.
It's hot in there.
I had my doors off until it started raining every day. That's look, if you want it to rain, take your Jeep doors off.
That's it.
It will start raining every day. Like the next day, it started raining. Ah, what a pain.
We're doing all the summer stuff. I was going to say, but I'm going to be honest here. You know, we power washed the house. I'm going to say
you had
I had the house power washed.
Yeah, of course. We're at that phase of life.
Well, we are. And sometimes, you know, as we talk about, I'm not using the word busy here, but I've been pushing it a bit.
Yeah. Well, we talked about seasons a couple of episodes ago, and you and, well, me too, being a prime example. Hence, look, guys, all of these podcasts are essentially based on our experiences, some of them in the past and some of them very recent past, like 2 weeks ago.
Sometimes we talk about stuff we're right in the middle of.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and yeah, that's a good point. So in the middle of it, right now, a season in life for you, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Getting you worn down?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
However, yesterday I did a podcast with a group of guys, and they wanted me in as a parenting advice.
Oh, do they know you?
Yeah, I know. That's what I asked. But
it was a fun podcast. Did you tell them about the milk episode in the Walmart?
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
And they still wanted you?
I think I told that on the last one. It's called Parent University.
Okay.
And so all dads should go listen to it at Parent University at Three Circle Church.
Okay.
But,
who leads that?
I was surprised. It's all
that TC?
That's TC.
I got you.
Yeah, the guy that leads all student ministries.
I love TC.
Yeah, he's
His
awesome.
Wife is even cooler.
Very much
She
so.
is cool.
Yep.
All right. So today, this is a subject that, well, we've got lots of experience with, and I think we've got varying levels of success in dealing with it and some failures. So why don't you get us started with the cost of winning? And really our subtitle to that is pressure, burnout, scaling without losing your mind. So I don't, this is such a broad subject and such a, I've got so many thoughts on it that it's hard to just get started. So why don't you just get us started and we'll get going?
I feel like it should just be titled business, because this is all about when you're in business, this is pretty much what you do.
Yeah. It could be life too.
Yeah, definitely so.
We do look, and this is probably a fault of mine. I look through the prism of business a lot, hence the podcast. But they're just, business is just a microcosm of life, Hence, hence the overlaps.
Yeah, we did the podcast a couple weeks ago on the word busy,
Mm-hmm.
And I think, or I know that, glorifying busy is bad.
It is.
Anytime you're looking at scaling, I think we can use the word busy to justify our actions.
Yeah.
and justify the amount of emotional and physical cost that we're taking on. But I think you need to look at that,
Yeah, with the busy mantra or the grind, hustle sort of mantra that was really, I don't even know when that started, but it became pretty prevalent in the social media world, I guess the last couple of years, maybe 5 years. I don't know. They're all blending together now that I'm old. I think, and we did talk about it. Everyone wears it as a badge of honor. And I do think, when we're talking about the cost of winning, that busy and hustle and grind is part of it. And I think this is what you were alluding to, is that it's good and necessary up to a certain point. It's when you start lying to yourself about what the hustle and what the grind is about and for, and the productivity of it, is when it becomes a problem. When you are just tactical, like reactionary to everything, and you're not strategic, you're not moving towards a strategic target, strategic outcome, a strategic mission, then I think it becomes the burnout, and it becomes, less fruitful. So are we on the same page?
Yes,
here?
We are. Yep.
I just said it with a lot more words. Sorry.
Yeah, you did. That was a lot of words.
Yeah.
But I got it.
I'm drinking some coffee to kind of get myself woken up too.
Yeah,
it's been a grind
from your burnout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I get it.
This is more of an athletic burnout.
Oh yeah. See, I don't have that this week.
Yeah, it's been a rough week.
I have
and a rough morning.
I went into this week, and this is a good place to kind of start this. I went into this week with great intentions.
Yes, we had a talk.
And failed every way when it comes to the athletic endeavors that I was going to take on this week, that I did not, because of circumstances in which revealed itself day in and day out, and I made excuses.
Yes, our group message has not let you live that down.
But I'm coming out and being totally honest that I just made excuses. I could have gone in the evenings. I could have gone at other times.
Yeah.
But I'll be real honest with you. When I get something in my head and in the way that it should go, if it gets messed up.
And your ideal day?
Yeah. Okay. And I'll be real honest with you. I thought I was like a flower. I'd just roll and flow. It messes me up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so
when your day gets off?
When my day gets off, and where the ideal picture, have you ever had an ideal picture and then it gets off and then you're like, just screw it.
I'm a visionary. I'm moving forward towards a vision every day, every month, every quarter, every year. Yeah.
But I think you also not lose your mind. You have to give yourself some grace sometimes. But I extend a lot of grace to myself. And so I probably shouldn't extend so much grace.
This is a message that every listener needs to hear. Tim, write this down. We all judge others to the high standards that we aspire to, but we hold ourselves to our intentions. Does that make sense? Well, I meant to do this, or I was going to do that, and I would have if these things didn't happen. So that's really the deal. I don't know when I heard that or thought that, or I'm sure someone told me, but we always hold everyone else to this high standard, and that's where we can judge them. But we don't really judge ourselves very much, because we know the backstory, or the story we're really telling ourselves, right?
This episode really philosophical in a way.
It is. Well, it is, and we can get back to philosophical, but I did want to kind of make sure that we start with this nugget on the cost of winning, to anyone thinking that they're going to start a new career, start a new business, start a family, move to a new place, something like that, right? We want to get real about the emotional, physical cost of growing a business or growing a family, or of just a marriage, and preparing for it, because it's 1,000 times more work than you ever think. Had I known at the beginning how much sweat equity, how much anxiety, how much, I don't know what it's done to my body, with just the cortisol levels just dumping into my body from the stress over 20 years, and some just like almost paralyzing. I don't know that I would have done it.
I would like to say that had I treated myself better when it came to that, I would look better than I do. But I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
I may still look this old with this many wrinkles.
Yeah, me too. Oh, man.
But I may not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what I've done to my body. And there's some things, when you were talking about that, I was just thinking, there's some things I still would have done, but had I taken into account the emotional, physical,
and relational
strain that growing and scaling has put on me, there was definitely been some things I would have said. There's some things I look back now and said, I probably shouldn't have done. I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Let me frame it this way. I was talking to someone, I can't remember if it was early this week or end of the week last week. And someone was, what do you want to do? It was one of those kind of conversations, let me help you kind of, what's your 10-year plan? Where are you trying to go? That kind of deal. And he was like, man, I would love to be, like you, follow your path. And this is a younger person, which at first that sounds, man, that feeds my ego and all of that stuff. And at first I want to say, oh yeah, well, blah, 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 or whatever. I don't know. And
yeah, I get it. If you want to be like me.
Yeah. I can't, I wish I could find the words, but you all hear me and hear that scenario. And I'm sure most people can relate. You're like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And I feel good about where I am and all that stuff. And I do anyways, but I thought about it for like a split second. And I thought, hell no, you don't. No, you do not want to be, you want to be where I am at right now. You do not want to do and go through what I did to get here. On a risk adjusted basis, the best thing you could do is go work for a corporation, make great money, manage or take advantage of all of the benefits that they have and the retirement match. And some of them got up to like 6% or 10%. I mean, 5%. So you put in 5% of your salary, they'll match 5%. That's 10% of every dollar you're making.
That's doubling your money.
You do that over the course of 22 years, you're basically where I'm at with zero stress, not zero, virtually zero comparatively. And you probably have a much better life,
It definitely doesn't have the
during 20 years.
It definitely doesn't have the demands on you mentally that scaling your business does.
Just don't know people understand the pressure and weight of having multiple millions of dollars worth of debt riding on you and whatever decision you're going to make this quarter, this year, to just keep paying that down and then making a little bit of money and going, that's not mine. That's actually got to get plowed back in to grow this thing even more. And then if you're dealing in a labor intensive business where you need lots of people, just the stress of being sort of subjected to people for a good period of time until you grow to a certain scale that like, is Jimmy with the drinking problem going to show up today? Nope, guess not. Guess I'll have to hop on that thing and get that stuff executed. Is James with the drug problem going to get behind the wheel, even though we told him not to, and drive the truck and then take someone out, and then I'm in a lawsuit that drags me under and everyone else gets to go get a job and they come and take my home and everything I've built for the last 20 years. All just crazy stuff like that start going through your mind that you just, there was maybe a decade, I didn't sleep very well for a long time. I mean, like 2 or 3 hours, just tossing and turning, thinking of all the bad scenarios that could happen. And I'm not a worrier. No. You risk-adjusted basis, you probably want to go work for a corporation. Take advantage of all the benefits. You'll basically be where I'm at in 22 years.
Yesterday, I had a 2-hour drive with an entrepreneur that was been in businesses. This is his 9th business to start.
Okay.
And he looked at me and he said, this business, and he should know what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
He looked at me and he said, I've not been sleeping for 2 months.
Oh, good.
And he said, if I had known today the toll this would have taken, I wouldn't have done it. But now I'm glad I did. But I'm still glad I did. So it's in some of us that we're just going to scale. And we're just going to start things and we're going to grow it and we're going to bypass what it took. Because he said, I knew what this would take and I didn't even hesitate to start it.
Yeah. Well, I want to get real on that stuff too and just say it's just in us and some of us do it, but only about 20% make it. I want to make sure that everyone hears that like 80% of small businesses fail after the first, is it 8 years, 5 years, something like that. And there's like competing information, but I think Small Business SBA sort of put out a report that like 60% fail in the first year, and then out of that 40%, another 50% of those fail before 10 years. And I'm not saying don't go follow your dream or anything like that. I'm just saying it there's a tremendous amount of risk, and you need to hear that, and you need to know that it's not just the risk of going out of business, running out of cash. It's the emotional and physical and relational cost it's gonna take a toll. Spouses just don't get it sometimes.
Yeah, there are overlaps in that. It's everywhere.
It is.
There's always consequences to your choices. And when you're young, and when I was young, I didn't take those and a lot of times now I don't even consider the consequences. You know?
Yeah.
But
when you're young, you just don't know that there are lawsuits out there to take you down.
But a lot of time the wisdom that you gain in doing those things, you don't pay attention to when you go into your next thing.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you about a friend of the show called Content Fresh. Since they've taken over our social media for the Overlap podcast, we've seen incredible growth. When you combine the growth from all social platforms, we're looking at a massive increase of 2,235%. This partnership has truly transformed our reach and engagement. If you're passionate about growing your business, partnering with Content Fresh could be a game changer for you. Go to overlaplife.com and click on sponsors today.
I want to take a moment to talk about someone who's been instrumental in my personal and business success. That's Johnny Barranco and his team at Barranco & Associates. For over 7 years, Johnny has been my go-to accountant and financial consultant. I can tell you that he's more than just a tax preparer. Johnny takes a holistic approach to all my financial dealings, aligning them with my long-term plans and personal lifestyle. I've recommended Johnny to several friends throughout different business groups around the country, and the feedback has been nothing short of exceptional. His expertise and service are top-notch. So if you're looking for someone who not only prepares your taxes, but also helps you strategize for the future, Johnny and his team at Barranco & Associates are the ones to call. Trust me, you won't regret it. So contact Johnny Barranco today and take the first steps towards financial peace.
Have you heard me talk about potential versus calling?
No, let's go.
So the worst, so I have a friend, his name is Larry Osborne. He's probably one of the best church growth experts in the country.
Okay.
He's got a organization called the Eagle's Nest, and where he takes very high level ministry leaders and brings them into the eagle's nest and then trains them. And he does this teaching called potential versus calling. And, in the church world, they use that word calling a lot. However, being a person of faith, and I think we both agree on this, that we were called to do what you and I do.
Yeah, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, a lot of time we get hung up in this word potential. Mm-hmm. We tell our kids, we just want you to live up to your potential.
Sure.
We just want you to do the potential. And then we tell our team members, you're just not living up to your potential.
Okay.
We will never fully live to the true potential that we have in ourselves as long as we have other people in our lives that we get to take care of, such as wives and children. And he does this teaching where he looks at you and he says, Sid, quit looking for your potential, because you could fulfill your potential had you not had these other obligations that you have. We all have the ability for way greater potential than we have inside of us.
Yeah.
If we don't take on our calling, which is being dads.
Yeah.
And husbands.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. So a lot of times and his whole premise is this, is that give yourself a break sometimes, that you're not fully optimized. Because if you were fully optimized, you wouldn't be taking care of the other things that you have to take care of.
Gotcha. All right. I can dig that.
And so a lot of the time, the pressure and the stress that we place on ourselves is pursuing something that we can't ever obtain because we're not by ourselves.
Yeah.
If you and I really wanted to live up to the potential that we have, we wouldn't have got married and had kids.
We'd have to be completely alone, not responsible
for anything.
Yeah. And just 100% focused on whatever the potential that we're trying to achieve.
Correct.
Gotcha. I got it.
Yeah. So give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And a lot of times we take on stress. And his whole premise is this. We take on stresses we don't need to take on. And we put expectations on ourselves that we don't need to take on because we can never fully live the full potential we have out. Because we have the other things in our lives other than business.
Gotcha. Well, maybe that needs to be part of the story of what you're trying to achieve, and that being part of your full potential too is achieving what you can through business to support that family and then actually be there for them.
Well, and Larry's premise is this: maybe you need to explore your calling first.
Yeah.
And so the calling is to be a dad, to be a husband first, and then go pursue whatever you need to do in the world.
Gotcha.
But what he says is, especially in the ministry space, Paul talks about in his writings that if you want to fulfill your potential, don't get married.
Oh,
don't take on those things. Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't get married. Don't take on the obligations of that life presents you. Pursue potential.
Okay.
Because it kind of changed my perspective in that and gave myself a little bit of grace. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times I get in the space of, oh man, I'm not fully optimized. I'm not fully living out what I need to live out.
Man, I don't know that I've ever said that. I've just always said, man, we should be much bigger. We should be growing much faster.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We should be generating much more free cash flow. We should be whatever.
Right. Have you ever looked at your personal bank account and go, oh, there should be more money here.
Yeah. We should be able to afford X.
Now, a lot of times there should be more because you've been
How much do I need to
it.
earn to start flying private? You should know. Help me understand. I'm just joking. Those are some of the thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, so that, I guess just having some perspective on potential versus calling, it probably leads into the second point that I wanted to make, which was just somehow you got to find a way. If you're going to go down a path and you're going to do something of great value, build a business, build a great family, have a great marriage, have a great nonprofit. I don't know. If you're going to do something of real value, the universe, I feel like, and I've said this a bunch of times on this podcast, the universe is going to test you and say, do you really want that thing? Because there will be obstacles in the way, and you'll have to figure out a way to get over them and to achieve whatever it is you really want.
The obstacle is the way.
The obstacle is the way, Ryan Holiday. And my resentment for him has subsided, so no big deal. I had a little resentment during COVID, but whatever.
He went a little woke.
He went way woke, and it's fine. I just hate it when my heroes end up not being, heroes.
Yeah, well, and he needs to realize he's got cows and stuff. You can't be woke and have cows.
Yeah, and tell people, don't even go outside. Just order your groceries. I'm like, dude, that is the 1% doing that. And I guess it's okay for the grocery getters to go get it for you and bring it to your house. That's fine.
Like you're a king.
Oh, no, get it. Yeah. Okay. But if that's the path you're going to go down, it's a choice. You said it, and you're going to build something of great value. Then the universe is going to test you, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get around it. That in turn is going to create a decent amount of stress. How do you stay grounded during this? And I think we've got lots of options to discuss. Number one, and it's going to be no surprise to anyone here, my number one is you're going to have to find a way to carve out some time to get some sort of fitness in. Even Tim, our producer Tim, is finding time with his 3 young children to exercise, and he already feels better. Right, Tim?
Absolutely. 100%.
100%. What did you say just before we were going on? You it's just amazing how what?
Yeah, I was just saying it's amazing how much better I feel just after a few workouts.
And you can imagine that feeling whenever it is stressful and it's hard to break your mind from the rat race of trying to solve whatever the problem is, whether it's cash flow, whether it's, getting along with your wife, whether it is, how do I get my kids to listen to me and do what's right, or what, all the things. If it's tough to break free from that, but if you can break free for just an hour and put in some hard work, you're going to feel much better. You also get to reset your mind and approach that issue with a fresh, a fresh look. And so the first idea of staying grounded and not losing your damn mind while you're, growing, scaling, doing whatever, building anything of great value is carving out some time for fitness. And I don't care what it is. Go for a run. Maybe you're a runner. Do CrossFit. Highly recommend that because it's high intensity. You don't have to think about it. You show up. There's a group of folks. It's communal. You end up making other friends outside of business or your kids' friends, and you start building a community. And we've had a couple of podcasts about that. And you're going so hard, and not so hard you're going to hurt yourself, but you're going so hard you can't really think about anything else. And so it really is a great form of meditation and mind clearing, I believe. And then really top of that pyramid, in my opinion, is jujitsu, just because one, you're learning a skill. 2, it is communal. 3, there's a whole lot of give and take in there. And then 4, it's a pretty damn good workout as well. And you are not thinking about anything else. You really aren't. So those options, and just go lift weights, I guess. But I sort of tend to stay in my mind if I do that. If it's just sort of like a back and by day, I'll still be ruminating over whatever the issues are. So that's one. Fitness. Keith, what's the next one?
Faith.
There you go. And I don't care what it is, but if you get plugged into a synagogue or a church or some sort of community like that, you'll start seeing all of the overlaps really, in faith is going to say that, like, man, you're here to do something, and it's not going to be easy, but the path is what I want you to do, and that's where you learn to be a good follower.
It's funny that we were just going to faith, because I was looking a scripture up that talked about, because I was thinking about that when you go into something, anything, business, scaling, you should probably consider what it's going to cost you.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't, like we said, but you probably should.
But Luke 14 says this: "For which one of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not sit down and calculate the cost to see if it has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all watching it will begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This person began to build and was not able to finish.'
Huh.
Or what king, when he sets out to go to war, doesn't first sit down and consider whether he's strong enough to win?"
Huh.
So I think maybe in all this, we need to consider before we go into a project, consider before we go into a business, consider before we have another kid.
Yeah.
What is the cost of that? What is that going to cost me physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, relationally?
Yeah. The dichotomy in that one thing is just kids. If I could have, I would have had another one. I was thinking financially mostly, and pretty static.
I know you really love kids.
I do, man.
It's like,
I do. I love them. They're great. They're like, especially that man at all ages.
You're going to be a great grandma.
Oh, I know. I had Charlie for a little while on.
Did you?
On Wednesday? Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, faith. Man, it's just a really important aspect, and I think most of people where we live are plugged in to that message. But it's not.
Yeah, but it's
not
the right. Yeah, but the problem is it's the right faith.
Yeah, it's not just trite sort of a wink and a nod to it, and then throw in a line here and there. It's like really getting up and going and getting plugged in.
Yeah, are you not? I mean, don't just go check a box. Pursue the creator of the universe. That needs to be the goal, not checking a box that you take your family to church on Sunday.
Yeah, to virtue signal.
Right. Yeah. Are you really pursuing the creator and what he means for you individually?
Yeah.
Right.
So since the episode, the focus of it is to lay out the cost of winning, but then give you concrete examples of how to avoid the pressure, not void, but deal with, because you can't avoid it, but pressure, burnout, scaling without losing your mind. And we're talking about faith, and that can be real ethereal, and we can get lost in thought on what that is. But are you just getting up 30 minutes earlier, reading something? Are you getting on your knees and praying? I mean, just the physical act of doing that. There's some real humility there and submission, and then maybe are you taking 5 minutes just to clear your mind? Try to listen. That sounds woo-woo as hell, but those are some concrete steps that I may or may not have implemented in my life over the last decade that have sort of helped with stress, anxiety, and everything else.
I just asked AI.
You asked AI? What did you ask?
Tactics.
For what?
For high-stake moments.
Okay.
And just to second what you just said.
Okay.
Grok just said, here's a tactic. Pause. Assess.
Yeah.
Prioritize. Focus on, give yourself time to focus on what matters most. So you're as smart as AI.
This sounds like Jocko, Pause, take a breath, take a step back, prioritize and execute. That's his whole deal.
Right.
But when it comes to faith, that's where I think people go, okay, well, I'll just go to church. Or, yeah, I talk about God all the time. Or I talk to God all the time in the car on the way to, well, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that works for people. I'm not saying, I'm just trying to give some concrete steps that have worked. And it does reduce, burnout and anxiety and stress.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about my friend Wes Cody. He's the president of C2 Wealth Strategies, a financial advisory firm dedicated to providing personalized solutions for your financial needs. Wes and his team of professionals are passionate about helping clients create wealth and achieve financial freedom. At C2 Wealth Strategies, they believe in taking a holistic approach to financial planning and are committed to building long-lasting relationships with their clients, ensuring their financial well-being every step of the way. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Contact Wes and C2 Wealth today at c2wealth.com to schedule a consultation. Let Wes and his team help you build your financial future.
If you're a small business owner looking to take your business to the next level, listen up. My good friend Chris Francis has spent over 20 years growing his tree care business to national success. Now he's partnered with Rick Miller, you've probably heard him here on the podcast before, Harvard MBA, and business consultant to create Roadmap for Growth, an online course to help you scale, build teams, and create systems that last. It's not just for the tree industry. This course applies to any small service business. Check out treebusiness.com or hit the link on the Overlap homepage to learn more. All right, we got one more tactic, if you will, for staying grounded, which is
family rhythms.
Family rhythms.
That's
Did
it.
you remember
I
what
see
we were
it
talking
now.
about there? Family rhythm. Like, here's one of those things, man. You can get caught up with every night as a freaking practice night with kids.
Yeah.
You can say no to a sports team.
Some of the busiest people I know is kids.
Oh, I know, dude.
That's playing baseball, basketball, football.
Yeah.
Then they're trying to go to church.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you just have to look at your kids. And there was times in my raising my kids that I looked at them and said, hey, we're just not doing that. You're just not going to play that.
Yeah. But maybe it's so. Yeah. Yes, you can definitely say no. But maybe if your kids are doing things and you want them to have that experience, that's fine. But can Sunday night be a standing deal where we have Sunday supper? It's at 6:30 every night, like it's at freaking grandma's house or something, and we just all eat together.
Well, I tell this story all the time. When my son was in the 10th grade, he didn't make it. He had been playing rec league basketball.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you're going to try out for the team at the high school. And if you don't make it, you're going to go get a job or play another sport. So if little Johnny's in the 10th grade and he's still having to play rec league, he's probably not going to that's probably not going to go well with him for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Go be active playing pickleball during your time off from your job.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if he has a propensity to be very good at that, definitely push him to go do it.
Yeah.
But
kids
but I
pursue.
think you should be honest with your kids too.
Yeah.
And if you see them being too active, scale it back for them. That's your job as a parent.
Yeah, it really is.
The luxury that we don't have as adults is someone to say, hey, let me scale that back for you. Hey, you can't go do that.
Well, if you got some good friends, they'll say, hey, look, looks like you're pushing a little too hard. Looks like you're trying to plug too many things on your plate.
Right.
But to that point, family rhythms, it sounds funny, but it really is just finding some sort of ritual where the family gets together. And then the grounding point is that if you are building a business or you're building a family or you're building a nonprofit, whatever, you do start to get some sense. And this is more like the faith part is you get plugged back into what it's all for. What am I here for? What is my purpose? What is my calling? when you start seeing kids, you go, oh, okay, this is what I'm working hard for. Got it. Let me make sure that I plug enough time away from this, because you're not going to wake up the rest of the family at 4 a.m. and let's all like get together, because that's when I can carve out enough time. But you can do that on Sunday night. Maybe it's Saturday night. Maybe it's Thursday night and there's no practice. I doubt that.
I tell you what, if you want to have a lot of fun, go around your house and get your family up at 4 a.m.
That would not be fun.
I didn't expect this podcast to be so emotional today on me, but it's quite emotional.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. The family rhythm thing, and this is all I want to say, being that I'm pretty much at the stage where, one child at the house, rhythms change.
Yeah.
Going from 4 kids to 1 kid at the house. And if you're not building great family rhythms now and you have everybody there, and then you're missing the opportunity to do something real, that you're missing the real potential.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. And because one day you're going to be sitting at your house on your couch with absolutely nothing to do, saying, man,
I remember the noise.
I remember the noise.
I
And
remember
it's
the running
awful,
around.
eerie quiet sometimes at my house.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
dude.
so-
Yeah. And man, we made dinner, and I've got to give credit to my wife, Jordan. She was the driving force behind that, but dinner at night. Sometimes it'd be 8:30.
Last night, my wife and my daughter were sitting at the table playing a game, and I was laying in the bed and hearing them laugh, and it was the best thing to my ears.
Yeah. Playing a board game?
Playing a board
Oh,
game.
yeah. Well, I love a board game.
It was like a card electronic game, one of those games where you have to hit the button or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
I know what you're talking about, but you got to
But to hear that rhythm in the house was just an amazing thing to go to sleep to.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, family rhythms. That's a good one. And then the last thing we just wanted to talk about was, and I know I keep repeating this, but I want to make sure we're kind of on the same page, that the cost of winning and what it's going to take, it's going to take some high stakes moments, and that's what you were talking about before. But you're going to come to some crossroads, probably several. And if you've got people, or if you got family, you got an organization, something like that, you're going to have to lead through those. I mean, it could be a housing crisis, where everyone's underwater over on their homes and no one's doing any service stuff. It could be COVID, where you're just scared. What's the world going to look like? It could be, a terrorist attack or something like that. But there will be something that you need to lead through, and you need to have some way during that time to kind of stay grounded and not lose your mind. And fitness, faith, staying connected with family, because mostly those high stake moments are not like 1 hour or 1 day. COVID was what? Down here, it went way faster, but it was probably 6 months of not knowing what the hell was going to happen.
Oh, at least for a lot of people, it was 2 years.
A lot of people, it's 2 years, but at least down here, things it felt like it got back to not normal, but quasi-normal after about 6 months, and you start moving. And then the next year, was that 2019?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so by 2020, man, things were rocking, and you're like, oh, okay. And it was still, people were at home, and, people were working remotely and things like that. But, it got going quick, but it was still 6 months of just having to lead and communicate and be positive. But you wouldn't be able to be a good leader, and you wouldn't be able to have a good message, and you wouldn't be able to not let that stress not be seen, but not influence the folks that you're supposed to lead. You've got to get people together, get them lined up, moving in the same direction with generally hope and influence, And if you are all stressed out and you think the world's going to come to an end, it's going to be real hard to get anyone motivated. So
typically, if you don't like you,
yeah,
nobody else does either.
That's a great point. That's probably, okay, we could probably end it with that, happiness is an inside job. And if you take care of these 3 factors that we said, if you carve out enough time for you to do some fitness and like real fitness, not like you went for, you lifted a 5-pound weight 3 times, but like really something that you can feel good about. You're kind of doing something meaningful towards building your faith, and then you're carving out enough time with your family, and you've got kind of a rhythm going there, man, you probably feel good about all aspects of your life. And you probably lead really well.
Yeah, and you're considering the cost of the things that you're stepping into.
And I don't know anything about karma or anything like that, but you're probably creating lots of opportunities for your life, if you're checking all of those boxes.
I think so.
Yeah, so cost of winning. It's going to be a lot of pressure. Going to be a lot of burnout possibilities. And it's real easy to get real distracted and it's real easy to get down on yourself. We talked about a number of things, and that's probably only about half of them, maybe a third. So there you go. Cost of winning and just some practical ways to stay grounded and not lose your mind. You got anything else, Keith?
That's it.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate you guys listening. Thanks so much, man. It's been an honor to have you guys kind of help us grow this. And I hope that you continue to do that by what you can do is like this episode. You can share it with anyone you think might benefit from it. And, maybe post us online or something like that. We'd appreciate it.
That'd be great. And go give us a review or so.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
I missed that one. Sorry. All right. Well, we hope you like the podcast. We keep rocking it out. We've got some good ones. We've got a good list going.
Go check out all the people that make it possible.
Yes.
You can go to overlaplife.com, click on sponsors, go use one of them.
Exactly. Met with one the other day. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you next time.
Peace.